We worked on redesigning the game called Abalone. In this game, each player starts with 14 balls, black and white, and then they compete on this board according to rules to make sure that 6 balls are taken out of the arena from the opponent's side. We'll explain the rules. So, if you have 1 ball, you can move it in any direction 1 step from the central position. If you have 2 balls, you can either move them in a line for 1 step like that, or you can also move balls parallelly against the lines like that, parallelly along the lines, but 1 step. You can also do this with 3 balls. Move the balls both in a line like that, or and also laterally like that. Then the second thing is pushing other balls. So if you have one opponent's ball and one of your balls, no ball can push against the other ball because both balls are one. But as soon as you overpower the enemy, you can move them by one. Again, to stop this attack, you can get a ball from somewhere, and since you're again on equal stance 2 and 2, you can't move the balls again. As soon as you have more balls than the enemy's balls, you can again push them. The balls also come to a standstill when you have 3 against 3. If you have 4 balls against 3, you still can't move them. The game, the movement of the ball stops at 3 balls. You won't be able to push parallel, right? Because in this direction, say you only have 1 ball right now, and you can't have multiple balls here and push all of them at once. No, you can't push 1 ball because the chain is like that. Your strength is in this direction and not in that direction. The aim of the game is to push 6 balls from the other player's team outside the ring. To push balls outside the ring, you can do things like this. This is a defeating move in which one of the balls from the opponent's team has gone outside the ring and hence is defeated. So the game involves a lot of strategy while you're moving your balls. A lot of times, rather than seeing through till the next move, you have to see through a number of moves and move your position pieces in such a way that you can capture the other player's balls and isolate them, and then use your strength to push them out. While playing, we realized that the point of view that you look at the game from, the actual physical perspective you have of the game. So he's looking at it from a different point of view. He's looking at it from a different point of view. I'm looking at it from a different point of view. So the point of view that you look at the game from, it affects a lot of your strategy, because what happens is you form this mental picture of the board and the balls on it in your head, and then visualize the balls moving in it. But if the point of view changes for a reason, that strategy you had in your head, your working memory gets filled up and you're not able to remember that strategy or implement it effectively again. You get very disoriented when the board rotates. We found this when we were playing this in our room. So earlier we were playing on the bed, and while the game was continuing, we shifted it to a table. And because of that shift in perspective from how we were seeing it on the bed to versus how we were seeing it on the table, made us feel dizzy in some sense in the game, and we didn't have enough location markers to be able to identify the balls that we had strategically thought of properly. So the twist we have introduced now is, as soon as a ball comes out of the arena, we rotate the game by 120 degrees to disorient both players and to force them to either think of new strategy or try very hard to implement their old strategy. Start rotating 120 degrees. हाँ.
Those spectators who were watching should give a comment on what could happen in redesign. Okay, they have tried their own ways of doing it. Let's look at your ideas.
So, I mean, they can take the whole idea of blitz chess and maybe apply it here. Of course, that's only like a superficial change, but I think that'll change the strategy and the pacing of the game much more.
A 3-link chain can push a 1, maybe if that became twice.
Game is quite elegantly balanced right now. If you introduce 3 balls pushing 1 ball twice, I can see many moves where it becomes just too easy for the opponent to sort of win. As there are only 2 colors, you sort of form certain shapes, certain chunks to memorize as to how things are placed on the board.
I think another thing that added to that not working was the sort of top-down view that we had of the game. When you're sitting on the side of the game, you have a perspective from your side of it. So when from a completely top-down, which is kind of artificial for a game.
Were you trying to do when you tried to redesign? Well, if you were trying to change the pace of the game, then few things would work. If I don't know what you were trying to do by the rotation, like what is it in the game you were trying to change? Second, even I don't know if you're lying on the bed and playing, it's a different thing. But even if I was sitting at a table, it would be somewhat at the angle how you would be playing it at a table with 2 people.
Also, I think the change that you made increased the difficulty of the game, or it would work better with players who are used to playing this.
It looked like it didn't make a difference because it was chunked out, right? Like whites were on one side and blacks were on one side. So as you rotate the board, it's almost evident. You can trace like the movement, but once it's randomized, I don't think it'll be easy to trace the movement.
There's some interesting things that happened. One is that as a spectator, you were as much involved. You are always playing that game yourself. No? I mean, if you were there, what would you do and all? So one of the simple things that people do for a redesign is what he suggested. You put a timer. And that way you can put timer everywhere, right? Can a timer be integrated with the concept of the game itself in some way? That is what is important, and not just putting a timer. For instance, if there is a timer for say 3 minutes, if you are not able to push out somebody, each player can remove one piece of his, and it is a very strategic thing what he removes. And that will make it a little simpler because it will progress faster and all. So don't think of ideas which can be applied to any game. Think of ideas which are, or transform the ideas in a way by which they become valid only for your game. Yeah? The discussion that is taking place is interesting because it tells you that in game design, more heads are better than one. Yeah? Because there are interesting ideas that come to the spectators also. So it is something that you can use, build into your design process. When you do something, get other people to play and also add spectators into it. They will give ideas. Even children give ideas. You can change this way, that way, and all that. So that's the advantage of learning by playing.
When you're looking at redesigning, so as in this game, few of us were talking about changing the pace of the game. Well, I felt, while I was playing, I was continuously thinking and moves were happening at an okayish pace. Maybe our game was slow because, as they said, maybe there's not much of attack and not much of defense. But then why would we want to change the pace? Or there are many factors which would we want to pick to change?
You can't make everything so rapid. No?
And if you change the pace of the game, the amount of moves that you think ahead of, I think those change. I mean, if you make the game really fast, I don't think you can think about ahead of 2 moves or ahead of 3 moves. Otherwise, if it's really slow, you can come up with multiple scenarios which could happen and hence plan for that. And as the game becomes less strategic if you sort of increase the speed of the game.
Since people on the inside don't feel bored in some sense and they're actively engaged with the game, it doesn't it's not the only thing you can do to increase the pace of the game. Since people on the inside are actively involved, it's only the spectators that sort of start feeling it's mundane or it's working too slowly. On the inside, it doesn't feel slow.
This is interesting. Now let's look at the context in which the game is likely to be played, and then this problem gets resolved. If it's a competitive game and you're supposed to win through strategies, spectators are supposed to keep quiet. You work on your own, like chess championships and all that. The length doesn't seem to matter, because you are involved in the process, and even spectators sort of participate in that thinking. That's one context. Now look at other contexts. There are games which are there in pubs. The games which are there in clubs. There are games which are there in parties. Now nobody has the time and patience to, work on long games. They want some very quick games which are fun. And the second is spectators playing comes more in the context of clubs and pubs, you know, because two people are playing and other people are participating in it. At that time, it matters a lot. Yeah? But it will not matter when you're playing a championship or something like that. So it depends on the context. But my idea was, if you know how to control things, depending on the context, we can control the game. No? So what we are doing is to learn how to control the game and its pace as well as its excitement and things like that. So that is exactly what the focus was. Okay.